You've probably heard the number. Maybe you've said it yourself. Once I hit $75,000, I'm good. It's been floating around personal finance circles for over a decade, and it has this weird authority to it, like it came from science, not just vibes. Because it did, a Princeton study, real researchers. And the finding was clean. Emotional well-being stops improving meaningfully above $75,000 a year. That's the plateau. That's the number. So if you're grinding towards $75,000, negotiating for $75,000, or you just hit $75,000 and felt that quiet relief, I get it. You were supposed to feel that way. The research said so. Here's what the research actually said. The study came out in 2010. Two Princeton economists, including a Nobel laureate, looked at 450,000 survey responses and found that day-to-day emotional well-being stopped improving significantly above $75,000 in annual income. That's where they drew the line. And that finding got picked up, simplified, repeated, and turned into what you've been hearing ever since. $75,000 is enough. Here's the first problem, and it's so obvious that I genuinely cannot believe nobody puts it in the headline. $75,000 in 2010, adjusted for inflation, is over $110,000 today. The number everyone is chasing is not $75,000. It's $110,000. The goalpost moved by $35,000, and nobody told you. Every article, every Reddit thread, every finance influencer saying studies show $75,000 is the happiness number is quoting a figure that hasn't been accurate since the Obama administration. That's the first thing. Sit with that for a second and think about what that actually means for you personally. If you're 24 and your 5-year career goal is to hit $75,000, you've been optimizing toward a number that was already outdated before you graduated high school. The target you inherited from the culture around you is wrong, not slightly off. Wrong by more than a third. Now here's the second thing, and this one hits differently depending on where you live. Let's run the actual numbers for a real person. You earn $75,000 a year. After federal and state taxes in a high-cost state, you're taking home roughly $52,000. Call it $4,300 a month. Rent in a major city for a one-bedroom runs $2,000 at the absolute low end. More like $2,800 to $3,400 if you're in New York, San Francisco, or Miami. Say you have a roommate and land at $2,200. That leaves you $2,100. Car or transit, groceries, phone, internet, health insurance copays, gym. You're spending $900 to $1,100 on the basics before a single restaurant meal, before a single thing that feels like actually living. You're left with maybe $400 a month. And here's the thing. Nobody says out loud, this is why your friend who earns $75,000 is still stressed about money. It's not a spending problem. It's not a discipline problem. The math is just bad, and pretending otherwise doesn't help anyone. And before you say, well, just don't live in an expensive city, I hear you, but the cities with the highest salaries are the expensive ones. The $75,000 job in a low cost of living city often doesn't exist at the same level as it does in New York or San Francisco. You're frequently choosing between a lower nominal salary somewhere cheap or a higher nominal salary somewhere expensive, and the gap between those two outcomes is smaller than it looks on paper. The city premium is real, but so is the city tax. That's surprising. What comes next is more surprising, because there's a second problem that doesn't get talked about, and it's the one that destroys people who do hit $75,000 and thought they finally had it figured out. It's called lifestyle inflation. And unlike a bad rent market, this one is entirely internal, which makes it harder to see coming. Here's how it works. You get the raise. You move to a nicer apartment because you can finally afford it, and the old place felt embarrassing for where you are now. You upgrade the car because the 2014 Civic with 140,000 miles felt fine at $45,000, but feels wrong at $75,000. You go out more because your friends are at the same income level, and that's just what Friday looks like now. You buy better clothes. You take a real vacation. Each individual decision makes complete sense. Collectively, they consume every dollar of your raise within 6 to 12 months. Here's the line I want you to actually remember, because I've never heard another finance channel say it directly. The psychological reward of earning more money is almost entirely eaten by the psychological pressure to look like you earn more money. Your identity upgrades with your income. That's human. That's normal. The problem is, nobody warned you it was coming, and by the time you notice, the raise is gone. What makes this particularly hard to fight is that lifestyle inflation doesn't feel like failure. It feels like reward. It feels like you earned this. The nicer apartment, the better food, the weekend trip, none of it feels reckless in the moment. Every single upgrade feels proportionate to how hard you've worked. That's what makes it so effective at draining your raise before you even register it's gone. You're not being irresponsible, you're being human. And the financial system you grew up watching, your parents, your peers, television, all of it, modeled exactly this behavior and called it success. Nobody told you that the version of success you were shown was quietly making a different choice on your behalf. The choice to spend now instead of build now. And by the time you figure that out, you're 32 and starting from closer to zero than you expected. So you've got a target number that's been misquoted for 14 years, a cost of living that eats most of it before you can do anything with it, and a psychological mechanism that quietly spends the rest. That's two things working against you. The third one is where it actually gets alarming. Let me show you what this costs in real money over a lifetime. Two people, both earn $75,000 starting at 25. Person A does what feels natural, upgrades their life to match the new income, saves a little when it's easy, but not on a schedule. Figures they'll get serious about investing at 30 once things settle down. Person B decides, before the raise hits, exactly what they're doing with the difference between their old income and the new one. They automate $800 a month into a Roth IRA and a broad index fund before the money ever touches their checking account. From the outside, the difference between A and B is almost invisible. B might order slightly differently at dinner, maybe has a slightly older phone. That's it. At 35, person B has roughly $138,000 invested. Fine, not jaw-dropping yet. At 45, roughly $393,000. Getting real. At 55, roughly $847,000. Now we're somewhere. At 65, just over $2 million. From $800 a month that they genuinely did not miss because it was automated before they ever saw it. Person A, who meant to start at 25 but actually started at 30, investing the exact same $800 a month for the same number of years. $800,000 less. Not $800,000 in today's money. $800,000 in future money when you are 65, and your options are either I can retire or I have to keep working. The cost of 5 years of lifestyle inflation, 5 years of telling yourself you'll start when things settle down, is not a rounding error. It is the difference between two completely different retirements. Now let me add a third scenario because I think it's the most honest one. Person C is the version most people actually become. They hit $75,000, inflate their lifestyle, tell themselves they'll invest when they earn more, get to $90,000, inflate again, and finally start investing seriously at 35. Same $800 a month, same 7% return, same discipline from 35 onward. Just over $800,000 at retirement. Against person B's $2 million, the gap between I'll start now and I'll start when I'm more settled is, in lifetime dollars, $1.2 million. That number is not meant to make you feel bad. It's meant to make the decision feel as real as it actually is, because nobody ever shows you the full cost in advance. And I want to say one more thing that I don't hear enough. The person who learns not to inflate their lifestyle at $75,000 will also not inflate it at $90,000 or $110,000 or wherever their income eventually lands. The habit is the asset. Every raise after the first one becomes fuel instead of noise. There's also a 2021 follow-up to that original Princeton study worth knowing about because it quietly makes the case for everything I just said. The updated research found that well-being does continue to improve with income above $75,000, but only for people who were already emotionally and financially stable. For people who were stressed or anxious about money, more income actually amplified their existing state rather than resolving it. In plain terms, If your relationship with money is broken, a bigger salary makes the anxiety louder, not quieter. The number was never going to fix what the number didn't cause. My verdict? $75,000 was always a mediocre target, and it gets worse every year inflation runs. Chasing a salary milestone without a system is how you earn $75,000 and still feel broke, and feeling broke at $75,000 is genuinely demoralizing in a way that makes people blame themselves when they should be blaming the math. What changes your financial life isn't the number on your payslip. It's the gap between what you earn and what you spend, and whether that gap is working for you while you sleep. The most practical thing I can tell you is this: decide what you're doing with your next raise before it arrives. Not a vague, "I'll save more," but a specific dollar amount, a specific account, automated on a specific date. The moment the money hits your account, it already has a job. You don't get to accidentally spend what you never see. Freeze your lifestyle at your current income for 6 months after any significant raise. From the outside, it will look like nothing has changed. From the inside, it will feel slightly boring. In 30 years, it will look like the best decision you ever made. The broader thing I want to leave you with is this: the $75,000 myth isn't really about a salary number. It's about the idea that there's a threshold, some future point where money stops being a problem and you can finally relax. That idea is what keeps people from building the system that would actually create that feeling. Because the feeling doesn't come from hitting a number. It comes from watching a number grow, month after month, in an account you stop being tempted to touch. That's what financial security actually feels like, not a salary. A system that runs without you. Stop treating $75,000 like a destination. It was always a data point from a 2010 survey that got misquoted into a cultural myth. The finish line you were chasing was never real. What is real is the system you either build now or wish you'd built later. If you want the full picture, I put everything I know about money in your 20s into one video, the complete money guide for your 20s. Budgeting, investing, debt, building wealth from zero. It's in the description. Watch it before your next paycheck hits.